Welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor podcast. I am John, my co-host is Andy, and we are going to push through this episode even if it kills us, because Andy, much like Caleb, I will push myself to the limits for the meaningless reward that is listener praise.
And the salt and pepper that is our podcast.
Bit of a stretch.
Yeah, it's kind of salt and salt, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And are you a little salty about this episode?
I much like this episode and salt, I'm a little bland.
Yes, this one could have used a little bit of spice, and we have stretched that really far. Good on us.
So
Good
far.
on us.
Yeah.
That was just amazing. Yeah, this wasn't stellar Survivor. I'm not upset about it. There were certainly things I liked about it. I'm okay, because probably what made it a little less interesting is the person who went home. And I'm okay with that.
Right, and that's my thing is, I'm not going to be upset that we lost Caleb early because I didn't have any strong emotional attachment to Caleb. So if it has to happen, may as well have it happen in the pre-merge.
Yeah, no, I mean, it could have been super exciting if, Mana lost and we were like finding out if JT went home, but I don't want that to happen. So, not complaining. Gift horse and all of that. So we got a tribe swap.
Yeah, I mean, we may as well start talking about that tribe swap because as you hinted at, one tribe seems to have gotten all the winners.
Yeah, no, like top to bottom, like just in terms of like, strength of each competitor, this might be the greatest tribe of all time.
It's certainly one of the ones that I would root for the most. It's got a lot of favorites on there.
Yeah, like there might be some maybe that are better because like the top end elevates it, but like there's no like fat on this tribe. Yeah, so maybe
so to
Jeff
speak.
Varner, JT. But yeah, like the least interesting person on this tribe is Aubrey, who was probably the most interesting person on her entire season, and would probably be either the first or second most interesting person on like the other tribes. Like she might be the 8th most interesting person this season, and here there's no room for her, man.
Yeah, and I mean, if Aubrey is like number 6 on your 6-person tribe, that's a really good tribe.
Yeah, so this is all killer, no filler. And then we got, and we'll get into a bit more, but just kind of break down. Then I think you go into the Nuku tribe. Oh no, that is the Nuku tribe.
Nuku,
sorry.
Yeah. I just call them by colors. That's what's going to be easier for me. But if you want to go by names, we can try that.
Well, maybe with enough repetition, we'll remember. Then you get the new tribe, the green tribe, Tavua. They're, I think in some ways they validate So Kim a bit because apparently there is a neutral option. They're fine.
See, the thing is, I think there were some slim pickings left after you got that incredibly stacked blue tribe. So of the slim pickings that were left for the other tribes, I think the best available mostly went to this green tribe.
Yeah, so you got Sari, who, she's a highlighter. She could hang on the Nuku tribe, no problem.
Sure.
And then, we like Andrea. I like Zeke. Ozzy is Ozzy. So yeah, that one's fine.
Yeah.
And then we got the Mana tribe, the red tribe, who I don't care. They can all just go. It doesn't matter to me.
I call them the red shirt tribe because I'm cool with them dying off.
Yeah, I mean, there's some that that person's fine. There's one in this particular episode that really stood out, but at the same time, it's just like, yeah, whatever. Let's spend as little time with them as possible, even though I guess we want them to lose because they're the red shirts.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I might I might prefer some of them more than others, but I'm not going to be heartbroken if we lost that entire tribe.
Nope. Any one of them could slip on an eel or something and it'd be like, tough luck, you. But whereas, the Nuku tribe is like, no, don't lose. But keep showing us as much as we can from them. There's like not enough airtime for them. Like, Michaela is an afterthought. Aubrey isn't even a thought. Like, that's how like stacked it is.
My entire rooting interest for this episode was just don't let them lose. Don't let them lose.
And you think with like, Jeff Varner and Sandra is like, they can lose, but they smoked them.
Well, and this is the thing. I was going to get to this later, but they lucked out so much with that challenge because in a challenge generally, I don't think you're going to be able to essentially sit 3 people out. So they got to sit Sandra and Varner because if it was a physical challenge, those two are going to weigh you down. I mean, and if you just had a challenge with one person on the puzzle, you still got dead weight in the physical portion. So they really lucked out with that challenge.
Well, it's not even completely luck. That's kind of how it's been these first 3 goings, is that, like, it seems like every challenge there's a spot for somebody to just untie the bag.
Yeah, and I mean, that's probably by design, just because they don't want to, they had a bunch of players that we'd like to keep around that aren't necessarily physical challenge threats. So, if you want Suri to be able to stick around, and Sandra and all these other people that are maybe not so adept at the challenges, you can just give them a spot to hide.
Yeah, so yeah, whether it was Varner unlocking a chest in 1 week, and this week he was untying knots. Last week he didn't have somewhere to hide. It seems built in. I don't know if we can count on that continuing, but hey, they get to sit someone out next week, probably.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll actually get to the challenge, or the twist for next week later, but I guess we kind of covered all the tribes, didn't we? I was going to say, let's discuss the red tribe, but we did. There's just not much to discuss.
Yeah, and as I said, we green, there's people we want to do well. There's people we really don't want to do well. We'll get into it. That's not how it went. Let's go back to the good tribe, because I think the most interesting part of this episode was goats.
Sure. A whole plot line about goats, which, you have to be a little scared, having watched the show for a while, that when you see a whole lot of a certain tribe, this is a bad thing. They're setting up a plot point for later in the episode. Fortunately, nope, this was just an interesting story about goats.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was the best they could do, because, the vote wasn't that complicated, and frankly, it probably wouldn't have been complicated in any tribe, just by the way it shook out.
Right.
There would have ended up being a complication in tribal council with one tribe, but the rest, there was just imbalances. They gave us that. It's, great drama. It's great personal things. And again, it's with the best people. So yeah, this is, all combines for, a heavily featured and talked about scene in years to come. This will be the one with the goats. And where did you stand? Well, actually, first, where did you stand on the fact that this is like a heavily featured segment? Did you like it? Did you think that, oh God, this portends poorly?
I mean, other than being afraid that this might mean that we were going to see this tribe lose later in the episode, I was fine with it, because I would be fine with this episode spending the vast majority of the time on this tribe, and they kind of did. I got what I wanted.
All right, so then the next part is, like, what would you have done in this scenario? Who was in the right? Who was in the wrong? If you were there, are you eating goat?
I don't know that I would say that anyone's in the wrong. I mean, I don't know that there's a right or wrong opinion here. Personally, I'm fine with eating animals. I'm not a vegetarian. I have a feeling I would not be good at killing them. Mm-hmm. Specifically because there were 4 chickens there. Like, I'm not really thinking that I'm going to be great at killing animals, but I could probably kill a chicken. So I don't know that I would have been super motivated to chase the goats and potentially kill the goat. I will say, though, that if they had won some, like, curry at the reward challenge, I'd have been like, well, it's a sign. That goat's got to go.
Sure, but chicken curry is pretty good, too. So,
that's true.
The point still stands. I mean, if I was on a tribe and people were all gun-ho and they're like, I'm going to slaughter this goat and, like, prepare it and all that, I'm like, well, I'm going to eat it then.
Right.
But let me know when it's ready. Cause I wouldn't be sitting there. It's like, no, we're going to kill and eat this goat. And by we, I mean you. You are going to kill it and I am going to eat it.
Well, that was the best part, is that Sandra's like, yeah, we're eating this. But I don't think the impression was that Sandra was going to be actively involved in the killing of the goat.
No, anybody but her, right? The other people do my dirty work for me and I'll sit back and reap the rewards. Mm-hmm. That is, her Survivor career in a nutshell.
Respect.
And honestly, like, when they showed the preview for this, I'm like, they're not going to kill no goats. And I was right. But it's like, are they going to use? A dull machete? Like, this isn't like snapping a chicken's neck. I mean, I'm a full-on city boy, so, you know, if any of you farm people are listening, Barbara Anderson can give us some goat killing tips, but that seems like a little bit more involved to process, right? Seems like, you know, you're like Buddy in Into the Wild, where he's like, he finally kills a moose and then he can't actually prepare the meat because he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just as simple as like, I don't know, well, again, snapping their neck, although maybe with that baby. And then you're not eating goat fur, right? You need to like skin it and all of this, and then you can't like put the leftovers in the fridge.
I feel
You're
like
either eating all that goat for dinner, which maybe eating that much might be a problem. Like, although again, not the baby. Or it's like, it's just going to be this brutal, gruesome affair where like the carcass is hanging around camp for the rest of your time there.
as a warning to other tribes that might approach.
I mean, maybe you throw that in the ocean. That's probably what you do there, but.
Yeah, I feel like that might attract predators to your beach. Well, I guess if they're sea-based predators, they're not coming onto land anyway. I feel like bleeding a goat is probably involved. Like, you gotta kill it. It just seems like a whole process.
Yeah, and then you got goat blood on you for like your clothes for the rest of your time out there. It's like, yeah, this is a big ask.
Yeah.
It's been 9 days and we're on a game show. Maybe let's chill. Now, I will say this, and, you know, again, you know, animal people can come after me. It's like, keep the goat, man. Milk is something you can drink.
Yeah, and I will say that it didn't occur to me at all. Like, oh yeah, they could take goat's milk. But again, this is me also being a city boy. Like, oh yeah, goat's milk is a thing. I just don't think about it.
Yeah, for me, that was the whole thing. It's like, yeah, no, cool. It's a mama. Great. Get the milk. Milk is good. Yeah. And, you know, to go back to my point, it's like, you know, they have no preservation. It's like, well, yeah, you don't like, yeah, milk a pail full and then keep it around. You get some in your cup, you drink it at that moment. It's like, all right, I'll be back for seconds later. And yeah, I'm sure it probably tastes a little weird drinking warm goat's milk, but it's fine. These people are eating food off the ground, right?
I kind of want to see like a scene of them drinking warm goat's milk and then just passing out mid-confessional.
It wouldn't be bad for you, right? Because again, it doesn't have time to spoil. Well, all these problems are due to spoilage. Fresh, it's all good. Yeah. You can eat a fish fresh without cooking it. It's, yeah, storage, it becomes a problem. But this is what you come to a Survivor podcast for. But yeah, but getting back to the scene itself, I also thought it was just a great examination of all the different characters and stuff, right? So yeah, as we discussed, Sandra, DJAF, you know, this is whatever. Sandra does what Sandra needs. Malcolm playing to the camera with, you know, clever pop cultural remarks. You know, Varner, who's kind of been there for this, is like, yeah, I don't know if I want to be involved in that scene.
And Michaela, poor Michaela, is like, oh, I want to pet the goat. That's cool. Just don't get attached because we're going to eat that thing. And she's like, oh. Yeah,
and then, you know, I mean, I think earlier to our point, would we eat it? Sure, but we weren't going to be involved in any of the killing. I think that's where Aubrey was at. She's like, I'm not going to say anything here.
Yep.
But she probably would have eaten it, but I'm glad they didn't. And frankly, I bet if that conversation had gone just a little bit further and, you know, they got the dull machete and they're ready to do it, production would have been like, whoa, okay, yeah, you can't actually kill the goat. We're not going to put on the 8 o'clock for families sitting around with their TV dinners, just like slaughtering a baby goat.
Yep. Yeah, they caught some hell for that many, many years ago, and I don't think we're ever going to see that again. I like that we haven't talked about food this much since San Juan del Sur.
I know, and like there, it bothered me, but here, you know, again, sometimes what seems like a bad recipe can be great if you have the right chefs, and we do here. What I also like about that scene, and I think we can transition into a second point, is what it and other things that episode were saying about Sandra. And not just, you know, that's just like, I want to eat it. Is that everybody was afraid to say no to Sandra.
Yep. And that was the thing, is I think because she threw out the opinion first, it then becomes the walking on eggshells of, wait a minute, what if everyone agrees with her? I don't want to be the first one that disagrees. So it was this like out in the open thing. You have to disagree in some way, but you got to approach it very tentatively just in case you're the only one that disagrees. There's interesting social dynamics going on there.
Yeah, and I also think it just showed the level of fear people have for her a bit.
Sure.
I think, it was starting to come clear that there was kind of a consensus, like, yeah, we're not really going to do this, right? And Sandra was still just holding that baby goat, like, yeah, what are we talking about here? This is food. Animals exist for them to be in my belly. Get to work. I'll help you clean it afterwards, but I don't know what I'm doing here. And, you have JT very clearly saying, Sandra's calling the shots here. Sandra is calling the shots here.
Oh, remember how everybody always thought it was, meek little Sandra just tagging along? Remember how she plays like that?
I mean, yeah, obviously people were wrong to some degree, but, in her own words, she would not be the person calling the shots. Although, again, she was kind of a second in command a lot of these scenarios until situations flipped on her. But Sandra is calling the shots here. What do we think about that? What does that mean?
I still love it. I mean, I feel like I actually got into an argument with someone on Reddit. Hey, there's a first.
That was fruitful. That's a good idea. Yeah. You should go into YouTube and start talking to those people too. Although not the lovely people who have been leaving comments on our YouTube.
We've gotten very nice comments. I don't know where the horrible people on YouTube are. They just haven't found us yet.
It's coming.
Anyway, someone on Reddit was trying to convince me that since Sandra talked trash to Tony, she put a target on herself. I'm like, hey, cool. Reddit is great. Have you not ever seen this show and seen Sandra? Obviously, she has a target on herself. She's very aware of the fact that she has a target on herself. Nothing she's going to do is going to make that, she's not making the target bigger. Actually, she might be, but probably intentionally because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, I think it's just an interesting world, and I'll say it again, that Sandra is calling the shots here is because I think it might be good for her, Everybody else is like, oh, she's so big, she's clashing with people, she's going to go home, she's never making the merge. And I almost now just want to say, you know what, I'm calling my shot here, she's definitely making the merge, but that's stupid. I think it's stupid to be like, I'm going to be the one to say something before everybody else and then pig-headedly stick to that. I don't know if any podcaster would ever do that, but I think, there's not a lot of value in it. Survivor's a game that changes a lot, but I think this can work for her in a season where everybody's looking for shields. Somehow Sandra Diaz-Twine is the biggest shield there is.
Yeah, and I would never, make some kind of bold claim off some really, really thin, ridiculous evidence. So I'm not going to say that she's definitely making the merge either. But I just do enjoy watching the evolution of her gameplay. Just like I said last week, it's interesting to see Sandra bringing out a new wrinkle to her game.
Yeah, no, everybody is afraid of her playing under the radar. No, man, she's all over that radar. And yeah, I mean, I think it could work. Obviously, it can be a more dangerous way to play, right? If you're the obvious one, then every once in a while people take the shot at the obvious one, even if it's not a majority of people. You could be the person that takes the hit when an idol is played. It should be so weird that an idol holder goes after Sandra.
Right.
But it could happen, right? But at the same time, yeah, people, I think, are wanting Sandra to be out in front. Jeff Varner and Malcolm very much want Sandra drawing all the attention and they can lay back. I think, and that's one of the reason why in this goat scene you just see it where they're like, okay, well, yeah, I don't really want to do this, but I don't want to, get Sandra too upset because I need her to be, kind of this brash person who she is.
Right. And I think that's useful both to her and to them. I think it's working out for all parties involved.
Yeah, I mean, and the trick will be once juries start forming so that she's not too caustic. But again, we've said this before, we'll say it again. Sandra is caustic, doesn't seem to bother people that much. Yeah, I say it's just a fine line. Maybe she'll just get a little too far because she's feeling herself a bit more. But I don't see all the red flags, mostly because I'm not somebody who fears, excellence in Survivor. There's a whole brand of fan is like, that person's too big, that person's too obvious, OTTP or whatever it is. And but who's really playing a good game? That person you'd never think of because me saying that makes me feel like a superior fan. I'm not for that. I'm for, hey, if you're awesome, be awesome. Because you know what? Awesome people have won this show too.
Yeah, and I think part of the appeal for Sandra, obviously she is a big target, but I think keeping her around is never really that scary because it feels like there's always time to take your shot with Sandra.
Because there really is.
Yes.
You could get rid of Sandra anytime you want to, just people never remember to want to.
Right. And, it feels like the third time around, people probably will finally figure it out this time. There's going to be some point down the line where you can say to everybody, okay, I know we can all agree on this one at least, right? And, you kind of get a freebie later on.
Yeah, and the key for Sandra will be that she'll just become too important to somebody's final plans.
Right.
And, she's aware of that, and she's working on that. But, hey, this is 9 days that she's there. Everybody who, thought she couldn't be. Although a lot of those people thought that for about, 7 people. So I'm not quite sure how the math works on that.
Everyone's going home in episode 1.
And, we did get more than we thought going home in episode 1. And we're getting more than we thought, next week, too. Sticking with this tribe, before all the goat talk, we had idle stuff. JT finds himself on the bottom and decides to make some moves. And when JT makes big moves, is that a good thing?
Oh, so what we say in the South is bless his heart. And I think he had a bless his heart moment. Very super obvious that he was off looking for the idol. Everyone discussed it. Everyone was saying, oh, he's looking through our bags. Cut to the scene of JT looking through their bags. Everyone knows what's happening. I kind of think, they don't really care. And I don't know that it was necessarily a terrible thing for JT because with both Varner and Sandra on your tribe, a challenge loss doesn't seem like a crazy scenario. So, panicking and thinking that you might be the target within the next day or two, maybe you go and try to find that idol.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like the little bit of subterfuge at first, mostly because it's clever. He took too long, but I think the flip side of that is you know what? Who cares? If I need to look in front of these people, we all know the score. I need to get this idol more than I need to, try to climb uphill socially because I don't know if he was cracking that group within the first 3 days. So, yeah, I'm not faulting him for it too much. I will say that it's unfortunate that there's no idol there and all clues expire within the 3-day period. So it was all for completely naught. Other than possibly, and this isn't my idea, although I'm sure I thought of it too, the very thought of you having an idol can give you perhaps some protection.
Right. At the very least, it might force a split vote, which
could split them.
Isn't ideal, but yeah, it could cause cracks. So, it's something. I don't think it was a terrible idea. I feel like with a lot of things where JT is criticized for terrible ideas, we're always like, not so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it just wasn't as clever as maybe he thought it was, but, as you say, who cares?
Yeah.
He needs an idol more than he needs to be clever.
Right. You're not going to be awarded style points on how you stayed in the game.
No, they don't have that award anymore. I think Sprinter awarded those. Although, maybe he or Malcolm were fighting for the SIA Humanitarian of the Year award. like Sanders out that money. That's just not coming to her.
Yep.
But I also, that scene also just kind of underlined what I like about this tribe because they're out there and they're laughing at their good fortune of being on the best beach, best tribe. And then they're like, oh man, he's looking for an idol, isn't he? And then they just sit back and laugh about it because they're great.
Yeah. I mean, everyone there is there to play the game. They're enjoying it. They get it. And they're all interesting, fun people to be around. And I felt like they were just enjoying their company. They're like, what's the worst that happens? Yeah,
no, it wasn't a bunch of recriminations or anything like, JT, what an awful guy. It's just I guess he kind of got one on us. Oh, well, let's sit out here for a bit more.
Back to snorkeling.
Yep. Oh, they're delightful.
They're the best. I seriously, I just want to spend all of our time on that tribe.
So here's the thing for comments. Find me a better tribe than these 6. Find me that 1 through 6, all killer, no filler.
Yeah, no doubt.
See what you got.
Yeah.
Because even if you get to some of All Stars where there's a lot of big names there, you get to some that's Amber, it's
but she won that season.
She did. No, look, one of the duds in red could win this season. That's
Sure.
but going in at this exact moment, this is some elite company. Yeah, and this usually what happens is just like an imbalance of like challenge strength. But actually, I feel like it's still fairly well distributed. Maybe a little less so now that one of the tribes voted somebody out. But yeah.
They will benefit if they get to, sit either Sandra or Varner. That helps them a lot. Because, you can probably overcome having one person that's terrible in the challenge. Having 2 out of your 6, that's a lot tougher.
Actually, when you look at it, they have the 3 best athletes on the show right now, right?
Yeah.
Because like the other ones have some strong guys. Well, no, sorry, 3 of the 4, right?
Right,
Ozzy is still a person on
Ozzy's
the
still
season.
there. Yeah.
But 3 of the 4 top athletes, and maybe it's 4 through 2, but and just in terms of well-rounded athleticism, so that's pretty solid. Whereas like Red had some muscle in Brad and Caleb, but not necessarily the same with athleticism. Although I think Caleb's probably a decent athlete, but he's not there anymore, so it don't really matter. And then Green, they got Ozzy, Sarah's up there, but. Yeah, no, maybe Nuku doesn't go to tribal, and that'll be amazing.
Oh, it's going to be my rooting interest for next episode. It's just, okay, I got 6 people I need to protect. Just win this challenge.
All right, so speaking of rooting interest, let's go to the opposite of that.
Oh, I know where we're going here. My boy Troy.
On your fantasy team, racking up the big points.
Yes. I can't believe, we started to see him talking about how he was, and did you see his brilliant social play with Andrea? Do I have the plague? Oh my God, I can't believe this guy just doesn't work his social magic all the way to the end. He's so gifted. At least he correctly deduces that he's on the bottom, because it's a very familiar situation for him.
Phrasing?
Yeah, I know. But anyway, he finds the clue, and there's still this glimmer of hope that maybe he won't get the idol. Maybe he just won't be able to pull it off. And he makes a like swing and a miss attempt, and I'm like, okay, good. Maybe it's not going to happen. And then he still sits there and manages to wipe the idol. And luckily, at least for this week, it didn't matter, because he was able to do that because they won the challenge. So there was no chance of him using that idol, which was nice. Doesn't prevent it from happening next week, though.
No, and in fact, next week there's pretty high odds, right?
Yes.
They obviously could win, but 2/3 of the people there are going to tribal council, ish. I guess the math isn't perfect.
2/3 of the tribes. How about that?
There you go. Yeah, and also, like, he's gonna get it, because, you try to subterfuge, but if you're in Troy's position at the end, if you can't subtly do it, then just grab that thing. Like, this is my idol!
Yeah, I mean, he's not known for subtlety anyway, so why bother?
And also, why bother if you're the last, if you're on the outs, then it's just like, right. Okay, cool. Well, it's better if you guys didn't know I had it, but sure, you guys can know it too, because I know what you're doing. So, yeah, as soon as you found that clue, it was going to happen. You hold out hope, because you want, not bad things to happen, but I don't know why we would ever expect that. I mean, I frankly tweeted that he was going to win this season after the Patriots won the Super Bowl.
It would be the most likely outcome. That is the equivalent.
Because he's going to take out somebody we like. It's going to happen. It's just...
Yeah, the only good way this could possibly go is if he somehow blows it and plays the idol horribly. I really don't want it to take out anyone worthwhile. If it's somehow like after another swap or the merge or whatever, and there's split votes and he saves himself and it takes out Sierra, fine. That's the situation I'd be okay with.
Well, even here, if they split it, like, and Sarah is the sacrificial lamb, that'd be fine. But more likely, because the tribe itself seems pretty confident that he couldn't get it. That was that nice, lampshading of Ozzy. Right. There's so many of us, we can keep an eye on him. Womp womp.
Cut to Troy finding the clue.
Is there nothing that Ozzy can't plan that will go wrong? Yeah, no, it's gonna happen, and honestly, in some ways, I'd rather it happen now, as long as it's not like Suri. And, I think it could still happen to somebody I like, but it's like, I don't want it to happen to any of those Nukus, so.
Yes, that's the thing is we want to, if it's weaponized, let's get it out of the way now. Let's not wait for Act 3.
But here would be the amazing scenario. Suri works him over. And I'm not saying that he would give up his idol to Suri. That's funny to talk about, but that's not going to happen. But she convinces him that he's on her side. And he's voting with them against, whoever, against Zeke, let's say. And then he doesn't play it. Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't pick Ozzy just because I don't know if Troy would buy it,
Well, I mean, she has a history of doing it.
Sure, yes. And then he doesn't play the idol, and they all vote for Troy. And he goes home with an idol in his pocket.
See, that would be Troy blowing it, and I'm obviously rooting for that scenario too. So it'd be great.
Well, yeah, and what did you think about them putting idols back in challenges?
It's fine. I mean, Probst talked about before the season that they're going to sort of switch it up. One idol will be at the challenge. He said they might have one at Tribal Council. They're just going to keep moving them to different places. So it's never going to be just look into a crack in a tree somewhere and suddenly there's an idol. He said they're going to mix it up, and I kind of like it. It's fine with me. If it's not all the idols at challenges, that's cool.
Yeah, and I think it's also a reaction to last season where like David and Adam had an advantage in finding idols because they knew the rule of that idol and what to look for.
Right.
And also maybe just let's switch it up, see what's happening. So yeah, I like that. I need to happen is somebody to screw it up at a challenge if they're going to keep doing the thing at a challenge. And there's not like a wide body of evidence or moments. It's happened 3 times now. But I don't mean necessarily screw up and not get it. I want them to be discovered and publicly, like Sandra, like, what are you doing? And
I thought we actually might be in for that here. I
know close. Andrea's eyes were right there, and then
they all turned around. Yep.
Well, I mean, to be fair, there's really only so long you can look at Troy, right?
Yep. Understandably, I would have turned away too.
So sticking on the theme of people we maybe had lower thoughts of going in, Brad Culpepper, huh?
I don't think we were ever necessarily.
We were fine. We were like, he's not so bad. Maybe he could be all right. But Brad Culpepper, huh?
Yeah, I think you could describe us as lukewarm on Brad Culpepper. We weren't like super excited for him to be here, but we're not going to trash the casting. But I've seen a lot of people are giving him lots of credit, and he did do very well. He was the best player on that Red Tribe, but it's like being the best player on the Sixers last year. That's not like super impressive.
Or this year, frankly, post Embiid injury.
Oh, R.I.P. Joel's season. But let's not forget, like, he was trying to keep Debbie around because she's loyal. That is not a great strategy long term. I mean, yes, he's controlled this vote and did it very well. I just don't know that his long term plan is great.
Yeah, I'm on the flip side. I am actually very impressed by Brad. And also, like, Debbie is loyal. Her problem is sometimes she's overly loyal. So if you know that, you just need to work with it. She didn't flip on anybody who she had decided to be with.
Well, that's the problem, is Debbie can decide that she's with somebody that you're not with.
I mean, I think it could be okay for Brad, especially if they keep it simple. Because I think, what she wants, and maybe he knows this, maybe not, is to be loyal to people like Brad, right? Everything we read, and she might not be hard to guess in this matter, is she wants to play with strong people. It's all about strength, people who work out like her. So, for Brad, that could mean, she's a good target. But also, it's like, it's not the time to vote out Debbie. I think Caleb was the most dangerous person for Brad's game. And if they turn on Debbie next week, that could be a thing. I don't think that's what's going to happen. But I think it was essential to break up that co-wrong 4. I didn't think Caleb would be the one that people would target for that reason. But, flip the situation and, tie in somebody on a different tribe with nobody else, and it's him, right? It's because Caleb was one of the odd people out in this tribe. And you need to break that relationship, because if he votes out Haley, then now it's 3-2 co-wrong versus non, right?
Right.
So you break that. Now Ty's probably closest ally in this game now is probably Brad, right? Especially if this carries on a little long. So I think whether Debbie is a long-term ally or not, I think is irregardless. I think Brad took control of this tribe without really publicly taking control.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a mystery to anybody. They probably also are letting him take control a bit because there's a bit of a power vacuum here, especially with somebody like Caleb gone necessarily. Although Caleb's probably always in number 2.
Exactly. Phrasing.
But he wasn't calling shots and being, Big Brad.
Yeah. And, of the people that you could partner with, I would put Ty number 1 because I think Ty generally is loyal unless you're the type of person that he decides no, you are not a good human, so I won't keep aligning with you. Unfortunately, Ty's a little bit too pliable. I would be a little concerned that someone else could pull him away from me. But Caleb was too much of an unknown. And so if it comes down to Caleb or Debbie, I can see the coin flip. Personally, I would have gotten rid of Debbie because Caleb at best seemed like a lieutenant to me more than a mastermind. Especially if Ty can convince Caleb how to vote, I'm not super concerned that Caleb is going to be, calling shots later on.
Well, here's the other counter is just this is the tribe where you're Mana, the former Nuku has numbers advantage. And I don't know if you want to surrender that by taking out one of them. Especially because that also might signal to the other people. I guess, this is one of 2 tribes. I guess the Green tribe is also the same scenario. But I think there's another reason why Caleb over Debbie is because, he wasn't with your tribe at the beginning. You have 6 days with Debbie. You have no days with Caleb. So I think you take at least thin one of them out because, if Nuku goes to tribal council, they're probably thinning one of yours out and then kind of go from there.
Yeah. I guess if you want to retain loyalty to that initial tribe that you were with for 6 days, but
that was a great setup for him, though. That was a tribe that, he should remain loyal to. That was, the kind of the meathead honor tribe, right? Yes. That was doing so well that he could decorate it, right? It would be a different story if, and maybe, because they didn't go to tribal council, so we don't really have the full judgment. But if it was a bickering tribe, everybody not getting along, then sure, maybe you cut ties, but I think there's value in having loyalty to people who, maybe aren't the most complicated strategists.
And speaking of cutting ties, I'm not really sure what Ty's game is. He didn't want to try to push that vote onto Debbie. He was, seemingly all buddy with Caleb, but all it took was Brad saying maybe it should be Caleb. And Ty was yeah, I'm going to play this game. I'm going to take Caleb out. I don't know that was the best move for him. Maybe it was because maybe he did have loyalty to this group that he was with for 6 days right at the beginning. I'm very confused about what Ty's strategy is in this game.
Yeah, I probably don't need to think too deeply about it. I don't know if there's a strategy that's terribly advanced. Brad's argument wasn't completely wrong. I think if Ty fights too hard to keep Caleb and is seen with Caleb, then everybody's weary of that. Everybody was weary going in.
Leery. Yes.
Well, I think it was also tiresome.
A little bit of both.
From Caleb's exit interviews, which, whatever, was suggesting that, the whole thing we saw where Brad is oh, it doesn't have to be and all that. Maybe a bit of fabrication, and really Brad is well, we got the votes for Caleb, are you in? So, if that's the case, then I guess Ty probably made a great move in the sense of, you don't stick your neck out to protect somebody. And
right.
I'll say that's not completely implausible. It kind of felt like Debbie was dead set on breaking up Caleb and Ty, and I think Sierra was there for it too. So, it could just be that simple that they were yeah, it's going to be Caleb, and everything else we saw was manufactured drama. Yeah, so in that case, dressing. Yes, Ty, you vote out your friend, just like, Sierra votes out her mom, and it really doesn't mean anything, but it will be played up like it does. But more for me, it's I think I'm over Ty. He's a nice guy. But I don't know if that's the character type I'm interested in long term. It's refreshing for a season, especially in a season when you're getting to know a bunch of people. But in a returnee season where you kind of want to see maybe a bit of a step up, it's I don't know. We've seen it. It's what else you got, Ty? And I think the answer is nothing.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him some time just because I did like him in his first season, and I think he could potentially learn from that. He's always going to have certain struggles in this game regardless, but I'll give him time. I can see what you're saying though. You want to see something new, and I don't know that you're going to.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes it can just be the nice guy in an all-star season that has a few moments to shine. Keith was really great in Cambodia.
He was,
but I think key was, Keith didn't have to be Keith until like most of the cast was gone.
Yep.
Yeah. And the problem with Ty, and this, it's like day 3. This is his story already. After, what we got a little bit before that was, oh, tying the chickens again. And then, oh, kiss Caleb again. It's like, I've heard this song. And moreover, you say, let's see what else he has in the game. Whether he has more strategy or thinking, because I think it is a mistake to think that like Ty's an idiot just because he doesn't speak English as well as us. It's that he's a terrible liar. He's just so bad at it.
Yes,
and more like not just even lying, even just kind of like confronting with like it's time to spill the beans on something. He freezes up, and it's just like, okay, so then. You're not going to surprise me as a viewer, I don't think.
Right, but that does make him potentially useful in the game. It's just a matter of, I don't know that you center the story around him then.
Yeah, no, and I think he's incredibly useful for a player like Brad. And I want to just quickly get back to Brad, moreover, whether you think, the move was to be celebrated or if it was just okay. He looked great in the edit.
Yes, he did. They even gave us a little bit of intel about Brad's interior decorating skills and hobby.
Yeah, and we have the proof. I guess he was the one who decorated the other camp.
Sure.
No, like we're getting to know Brad as a likable person, and no, not just this episode. In earlier episodes, he's talking about what would Monica do, and that chicken is Monica, and that sort of thing. And by the way, Chicken Monica going to be dead before you ever see her again, Brad.
Sandra's going to get her way on that one.
Yeah. So it's like, this is a lot of reconstruction of the attitude, of the reputation of Brad Culpepper, and I don't think it's so that he gets blindsided next week. I think we're going to see, the moves. Whether it was not that complicated a move at all, maybe he really didn't put, that Jedi mind trick on Ty, and it was more just like, hey Ty, we got the votes, and I'd like you to be along with it. The edit wanted to make it seem like, oh, Brad Culpepper, he knows how to play Ty, and he's going to use that, and we're going to show him talking about it. So I think he's one to watch.
Yeah, and if you think that might be a justification for them bringing back someone that was a pre-merge boot before, consider that they're not making any sort of justifications for bringing Sierra back so far.
Yeah, actually, I mean, Caleb,
right.
Haley, it's like, those other ones are like, you stick to the background. But Brad has become a star so far in this early portion of the season.
Oh, to be fair, though, he was a star in the early portion of Blood versus Water.
Yes, for a different reason.
Yep. But yeah, I do agree with you. And he's likely to stick around for a while. I would have said that before the season, though, just because I think that with this cast, it always seemed kind of unlikely that you would need to or want to take him out too soon. So I think he was always destined to last longer than he did last time.
Sure, but yeah, so baked into that a bit is like, he'd be, maybe a useful idiot, right? A good meat shield. Now he's getting the edit like this is a strategist and a player, so.
Sure.
I thought it was I think Brad had the best episode of anybody, at least, from a gameplay perspective. Not that there was a whole lot of
there weren't a lot of other games.
And he was on the puzzle, which was weird, but they almost, they were within seconds, so.
Yeah, they almost had it at the end.
Yeah, Brad Culpepper, who knew? So, well, I mean, I guess we can definitively say this. Do you think it was the right move to get rid of Caleb here?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I personally would have gotten rid of Debbie, but I'm not out there, so I don't know what that,
Yeah, you just personally don't want Debbie on the season.
I think it's more that it's, for me, looking at Debbie, she's just way too risky of an ally. I would rather take my chances with Caleb, but again, I'm not out there, so I understand it, and I'm going to say it was fine.
See, I think at this stage right now, when there's not really a lot of things and it's just so easily us versus them, Debbie's fine with that. I think, to your point, she's somebody you need to watch later. But, sometimes a lot of the better assets are like that. I don't think she's an Abby Maria type asset. She's not going to just flip on you in a second and be like, what happened? It'd just be more like, now I need to expel a little bit more energy dealing with Debbie today. So from that, I think she's fine. What about the argument that, Caleb is a superior challenge player to Haley?
I don't know that he's that dramatically better than Haley. We saw Haley in the challenge last week was a very good swimmer. Might be a useful skill again later on. And again, Caleb's specific strengths, meaning strength, not necessarily likely to be useful in some of these challenges they're going to face.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to have like a, jousting tournament this season, especially not with 3 tribes. That'd be a little weird.
Right.
So I think that's fine. Also, like some of the people are arguments like, you keep them around for challenge strength because you still need to win challenges, which, I agree. Winning challenges is, a good thing to do in Survivor.
Bold opinion.
I know. And they're like, you can get them later, but those two things kind of work counter to one another. If you want to get rid of Caleb because you're afraid of the Caleb-Ty dynamic and moreover the Ko-Rong 4 dynamic, you can't keep him around to win challenges because then you can't get rid of him. See how that works kind of at cross purposes here? Whereas if, it's like you also want to get rid of Haley and Caleb causes you to lose, well, then fine. Okay. Well, then we get rid of Haley. We don't need to do that earlier. I think whatever. You get rid of Caleb if, losing his strength causes them to miss the next challenge. Even though it should be pointed out, Caleb's been to all 3 tribal councils. So far that strength hasn't necessarily been the difference. I don't know if it's his fault that his team is lost, but he's certainly not elevating them to winner's position. Then you can get rid of Haley, you can get rid of Debbie. This tribe has a lot of room to get rid of people before it gets to the decision makers, which is weirdly Brad and Sierra Dawn Thomas.
This is a whole lot of fodder on this tribe. I don't even see where you got Sierra as one of the decision makers, but good for her.
Nah, she was talking to Brad. It was a thing. I mean, if not her, then who?
Sure.
I do like that, nobody's talking about her and Haley being on the same season, besides when Caleb was bringing it up to save himself. Because I think most of these people are like, who are these girls again? Where were they from? I'm not quite sure.
Hey, speaking of Caleb, we last week we did the biggest highlight from the Survivor careers. So we had Sierra and Tony last time, which was, tough choices. I think this is going to be a tough choice for a different reason.
So much tape.
So I guess for me, Caleb's biggest highlight is, remember that time he did the kiss thing with Ty? Amazing. So good.
That's something. I know everybody is thinking it's like the time he almost died. Yeah, that's there. But for me, I decided to go a different way with this one. I think the highlight of Caleb's Survivor career is when he came out in the preseason and said that Sandra and Tony weren't game changers.
Oh, that's a great pick. I would almost switch mine to that, but I'll let you have this one.
It's fantastic. And if you haven't read his exit interviews, because you don't care about Caleb, because, why would you? And that's not even necessarily a dig. The guy's been on Survivor for a total of 18 days and hasn't done much. Like, if you're just a Survivor fan, I don't know why you have, like, a strong opinion of him one way or another. But you should read the Josh Wigler one, because he asks the question about Sandra. And Caleb has done a 180 on this. He's, totally changed his mind. He's praising Sandra every chance he gets now that he's actually met her. And the reason why, and a lot of that he came out against her and Tony, which most of us had puzzled out and the rumors were out there, but he all but confirms, even though he avoids the name, is because Russell was calling him constantly and just, hammering how much these two suck. And that is amazing. And I love it so much.
And if you think like, wow, Russell is so petty, we ran a voting bracket on our site. I think it was maybe 2 years ago when we did the Ultimate Survivor, and we
yeah, it's during Worlds Apart.
Yeah, and so we did 64 survivors from throughout the game's history, and mysteriously, in the votes where Russell was still present, a whole lot of extra votes flooded only to Russell and none of the other voting pairs that were involved.
That's not quite
strange.
true. To Russell's voting pair and Sandra's voting pair.
Yes, I was going to say, and against Sandra in every contest.
Never enough to actually, I think Russell won one matchup, but it was one that he probably should have won anyway. But yeah, I just love the concept. Like, years later, he's still like, man, she ain't nothing. She's terrible. She's no game changer. And Caleb, he doesn't watch Survivor. He doesn't know. And and you listen to the tenor of his interview. It's just like, this guy just kept going on and on about it. It's the point where it's like maybe he's got some personal things.
The interview was great because he really does sort of sell Russell out in a way without it. Makes it seem like Caleb's just innocently talking about him, but he really just throws Russell under the bus.
Yeah, so that alone, I don't know, maybe justify is a strong word, but that's your moment. Go seek it out. Yeah, Josh Wigler, exit interview with Caleb. Because, but even before that, just like, it was such ridiculousness. It's like, those are the two people you don't think changed the game? The two people who most changed the game this season?
I mean, you could make an argument that Cirie is in that top three, but there's a top three, and those two are in it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you want to put Malcolm because you think, one way or another. But it's just like, those aren't the people you single out, man. You know who you single out? You.
Yes. Or Sierra.
Although I will say, I think Caleb actually did change the game. And there's been a bit of discussion about this week because there's not much else to discuss other than what people are putting into their bodies. Everybody's carrying around a water bottle and just kind of dipping it into the water well. They're not pretending you need to boil that stuff anymore. They're just like, you know what, drink the water. Just drink, man. And then a few people pass out and die. So that's how Caleb changed the game. Reminding them, it's like, oh yeah.
Hydration.
Dehydration kills people.
Yeah, hydration is important. All right, so let's, want to do predictions?
Yeah, sure. One per tribe, like we normally do. And two of them are going home this week.
Yes, which should be intense because, again, I need that blue tribe to win. Although, on the bright side, if they do win, I feel like the fact that we're going to lose two here, that kind of shields them a little bit. Like, I think maybe then after that, we're going to merge down to two tribes, something like that. I think we might be safe if they can win this one.
And actually, it's going to be exciting because, the flaw of the three-tribe format is that the intensity of challenges goes down for the first part of it. Winner is like, oh, cool, they won. It's all on, like, who doesn't lose. And that's, a less interesting contest. It's frankly a flaw of the Amazing Race that they can't really do much about, but that, like, the first 7 winners don't matter in a race. It's just about who isn't last. So next week, man. Winner take all, and that should be exciting, for as much as challenges are exciting. So we'll do this alphabetically, and we'll go with the Mana tribe. Who do you got?
That would be the red tribe, as Correct. I call them. So I think the easy pick here is Haley.
Yeah, I can see ways that Haley could get out of this. Quickly on her this week, I think she was garnering a lot, maybe is an exaggeration. She was garnering some praise for her performance at Tribal Council. I do like how she came back at Caleb, but, it still wasn't that big a deal, folks. Let's just calm yourselves.
Yeah, I think that vote had already been decided anyway, so it didn't matter much.
Yeah, no, she didn't do anything to save herself. If she was saying similar things to that, to save herself at camp, then good on her. And, what she needed to do is assuage fears that she was any kind of threat to anybody. That said, it kind of puts you in a bad position, for the end game. If, for the whole first half of the game, you have to just basically tell people that you're an inert non-threat. So that's going to be a tough road for her to climb, but it's the spot she's in right now. So, good for her. But everybody's like, oh, am I crazy that Haley's getting this great edit and she's playing this great game? Yes, you're crazy. she's fine. And I think if they lose next week, she's going home.
Okay.
If, what she could do is buddy up to Brad, and I do think there's, an option there. I do like how he kind of gave her a little bit of respect, lawyer to lawyer there. And also I think Brad wants to buddy up to everybody. And then maybe, Debbie annoys people. Maybe Ty doesn't take the loss of Caleb very well. So she could maybe leapfrog there, but I think it's long odds. And, as we were saying, there's some people we like on this tribe. Obviously, in preseason, I was saying that, I liked her, but I don't, whatever. If she went home this week, I wouldn't have cared that much. Who you got for Nuku?
Oh.
That's the blue tribe, the one we never want to lose. And
exactly. Oh, the darkest timeline of all. I feel like it's got to be Sandra. I don't want it to be, but I think that JT would somehow pull it off. I think JT would be able to stick around, whether it's through an idol, whether it's through, maneuvering to get people against Sandra. Varner might be itching to make a big move or something. I feel like it could be Sandra.
See, if she only kept her mouth shut and didn't keep blasting out. That's what you're saying. This is what you are saying right here.
Exactly.
That Sandra stepping out like this has totally ruined her game. She's done. She's doomed.
I better go back and apologize to that guy on Reddit.
You better. He won. That's all I'm saying. He won. There's some worry that JT, just by having all that time to look for idols, will make people not want to vote for him. I'm still going to roll that prediction over and say it's JT. I think there's room for him to move out. And another thing that could help him is Malcolm just lost another meat shield in successive weeks. Tony and Caleb are gone, so I could see him, pulling in JT. Now, the good news is there's still a bit of a surplus here with like Ozzy and Brad. And as I've discussed, Sandra, weirdly enough. I don't think JT gets the idol, and I think he goes home. Now, one thing, we've been promised an extra twist, and we see a dumbfounded Jeff Probst at Tribal Council. Does somebody find an idol at Tribal Council next week?
Why would Jeff Probst be dumbfounded by that, though? Because he knows that it exists there.
Because it's great drama, and he knows how to play for the camera, because he's like the oldest of pros?
He is. He's very good. I don't know that would elicit that reaction from him. I don't know I have no predictions at all of what's coming, but I don't think it would be that.
All right, so you got Sandra, I got JT, and finally the Green Tribe Tavua.
Unfortunately, despite my dream scenario of them taking out Troy, unbeknownst to him, I'll say that it's Andrea via Troy's idol.
Yeah, I thought that too, and people have already written about it on the site for the reasons that the scene we saw with them this week, and her saying that him saying she's not as clever as she thinks she is. Andrea's going to be his Kim proxy, and he's finally going to get one over on the girl that's pretty and smarter than him, and it's going to suck, and I think it's going to happen. And I don't just think like that's my prediction for this tribe. I think it's going to happen. I think they don't win, and Andrea goes home.
Yeah. Again, it would not surprise me. So it would be devastating just because I want it to be Troy, but I can totally see
it's devastating because... Sorry. Yeah, it's devastating because we like Andrea, but more so it's because Troy wins, and that we cannot abide by.
Exactly. Yeah, Troy winning against almost anybody would hurt. I'll grant him using the idol on Sierra. That's about all.
Yeah, I'll be okay with Sarah, and that's my list.
Okay. Yeah, I'll concede Sarah as well.
All right, so we have a website, www.purplerockpodcast.com. That's where you can find the stats for our fantasy game. Obviously watch this listen to this podcast, and vote in the finals of our ultimate winners bracket. That's right, we're at the finals now, because some people don't need to wait for March for their ideas. And the final will be Yule versus Kim, because, we are who we are.
Yeah, I know where Troy's vote's going. We also do a live blog there every week. So, go check that out after the show and check out our commenters. They always come out in full force. And if you want to find us on Twitter, Purple Rock Pod is the show. I'm Purple Rock John.
I'm Purple Rock Andy. You can subscribe to the show on your favorite podcatchers, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. And if you ever want to, leave a comment or anything, you could do that too. Who knows, maybe one day we'd actually see it. Email the show if you're interested, purplerockpodcast@gmail.com. And buy stuff on Amazon if you'd like. That's cool.
purplerockpodcast.com/Amazon if you really want to support the site. I don't care if you do or you don't at this point. It's fine.
But, come on. You just listened to a podcast where we, made a lot of material out of goats. That's worth, buying a DVD. But do people buy DVDs?
No,
that's
old
probably
man.
not a thing, right? DVDs of this show, Survivor.
Okay, we've clearly hit the end of this podcast. Let's hit the theme music.
That's what it's like when a woman wants a baby.